Rural Heritage on RFD TV is brought to you by Rural Heritage Magazine, a bi-monthly magazine featuring articles about farming and logging with draft animal power, small-scale diversified family farming and homesteading, and other aspects of our rich rural heritage. Rural Heritage Magazine, borrowing from yesterday to do the work of today. For subscription information, please call 319-362-3027 or order online at www.ruralheritage.com.
We knew what kind of farming we wanted to do. Small family farm, sustainable farming, even thought about organic. But a couple years into farming, I don't know if it's, I don't want to use the word brainwashing, but you get convinced that, man, everybody must be smarter than me. I got to do it like they, I got to do it right. I got to do it like they do. So we got bigger and bigger, and pretty soon 40 cows turn into 60 and 75 and 90, and pretty soon you're milking 2 barnfuls in a 45 cow barn of 90. Okay, now this stinks. We need a parlor, so we bought a used parlor, jackhammered concrete, poured concrete, put a parlor in ourselves, ripped the sides off a pole barn, turned the pole barn into a 6-row freestall barn. The next thing you know, you're pushing 30 years old, you're exhausted, your mom's watching your kids more than you are, you're milking 150 cows with 175 total, you got 175 heifers, you got 9 farms rented, you're running 440 acres in 3 different counties, and pretty soon you start hating agriculture and you think, how'd I get here? This isn't where I wanted to be. And it just dawned on me once, I'm almost 30 years old and I don't have my draft horses. I don't get to ride my riding horses anymore. We don't get to do the gardening. We don't hardly ever get to go to church. This stinks. This is what they think agriculture is supposed to be. We were making $35,000 a month in milk and could barely pay our bills. That just stunk. So I was almost 30 years old, and a guy that trimmed my horses, Robert Mass from the Laval group, I called Robert, and I knew what I needed at that point. I said, I need a worn out horse that knows way more than me. Robert said, all right. He called me like 2 days later. Hey, found a horse. Bought it from a guy, made me promise I won't send her to kill. She's old, she's wore out. Her name's Queen. I come down, I bought her for $500, which I don't know if that was much overkill. And I bought Queen, and if a horse could laugh, I think she laughed, because I think it took me 45 minutes to harness her the first time. I didn't have any idea. I had all this tangled parts trying to put together, and she was perfect. And so Queen turned into Queen Frankenfrieda, because Robert shot a team with, we were in the hills back then, and she shot a team with drill techs and let me use Frankenfrieda for the winter. Well, then you end up owning them. And Queen and Frankenfrieda taught me a lot. Well, then Queen Frankenfrieda pretty soon turned into Queen Frankenfrieda, Rosie, and Roxanne. So now you're up to 5 of them. So in just no time. The Brabant's thing is calm horses, and this one here is, this Holly horse here is very indicative of the Brabant breed, even though she's a 50%, like a lot of them. She looks real Brabant, and just calm, takes everything as it goes, usually easy keepers. You'll see when we get in harness though, they're not, well, I don't know what the term is, a deadhead. They're not deadheads. They want to step out and get something done. But you don't have to grain them constantly to keep flesh. And all this time we're thinking we're going to go bigger and the horses is just going to be my hobby. At least for a while we did. And then it dawned on us, no, I did more of the horses. We just want a family farm, and we want to farm with these horses and probably have a tractor to do, you know, some of the stuff that a tractor is just good at, like hydraulics and some of the heavy tillage. The minute we made that decision, our farm sold within a couple weeks, and we moved up here in June of '07. And this is a 153-acre farm, and we come up here with 5 horses. I think at the time, 5 workhorses, and we just started adding implements and learning how to do stuff. And I mean, some of the first hay mowing, it looked like a blind guy with drunk horses, or vice versa. It was ugly. And some of the first cultivating was ugly, but I just kind of stuck with it, kept sticking with it. And I would ask advice along the way. I would caution people on that, because there is some good advice out there and you can learn, but you better have a filter, because you'll get a lot of bad advice too. You better have a filter. And sometimes I would take people's word at something, and not everything works the same for everybody. And I kept thinking all the time, you know, I grew up with quarter horses and apps, and some of these Belgians, they're hotter than my quarter horses. I mean, these mares are, you get them in a hard pull and they're wired for a while, or you go buy some flapping ag plastic and they're just hopping. And I'm thinking, this is not the gentle giants I read about growing up. And then we got introduced to this Brabants, however you want to say it. We bought a 100% Brabant stallion, and we started breeding our American mares, and that's what you've seen on a lot of the footage today was our 50% fillies out of that 100% Brabant stallion and our American mares. I guess the one's out of a Persian mare, so she's half Belgian, half Brabant Belgian, and half Persian. But we really like the 50%ers. The 100%ers are real easy going, easy keepers. They're slow moving horse. They got a good walk, but they're a slower horse, real massive horse. And the American horses, in my opinion, have got a little narrow chested, a little long legged, a little long bodied. Takes a little grain to keep weight on them, especially if they're more nervous. So the blend is a good blend. It gives you a horse with a good walk. A lot of times they're easy keeping. A lot of times they have some good brains on them. And yet, you know, if the mosquitoes are biting, you can get home. You're not going to be so slow that, you know, the mosquitoes eat you alive. They got a good step on them. So they're athletic, but yet they're stocky. They can pull a little bit. And I don't know. I really like the blends. The 100%ers and 75%ers are good for a lot of people. A lot of people that just want a hobby horse and want a horse that broke every Saturday morning when they walk out there. Go get yourself a high percentage Brabant Belgian. I like my 50%ers for farming. You know, a lot of times when we're rototilling and we want to rototill 9 hours, 20 acres, you got to have something that's some snap when you head out in the morning. We've been breeding jerseys. We've been milking jerseys now for 17 years. We've been farming 18 years. Well, about a year ago, we got introduced to a breed called Fleckvieh, Bavarian Fleckvieh, from Bavarian part of Germany, as I understand it. And they're the dairy side of the Simmental breed, another easy fleshing breed on forage. So we started crossbreeding our dairy herd as well. And as I talked about with the Brabants, they're easy keepers. These Fleckvieh crosses are easy keepers. Because my wife and I just feel the energy prices are never going to really get cheap again. And we have to have breeds that can milk and keep their weight on and breed back. And you know, whether that work is giving milk or pushing in a collar, they got to be able to keep decent weight on forage. And we're in the northern half of Wisconsin. It's a lot easier to grow forage up here than grain. And so we have to adjust our genetics for our environment, not try to force our preconceived notions on our environment. So we're breeding breeds in our dairy and in our horses that are easy keepers, docile, breed back, you know, and that's the direction we think will be profitable in the future for a small sustainable farm is you know, as least amount of fuel as you can buy, as least amount of inputs as you can buy. I know as a country we've headed towards large farms of all types, but I think as energy gets higher, that small diversified farm that's not moving goods as much distance and is flexible for the weather, you know, sometimes we have a crop failure, well, we just graze it. You know, we're flexible being small. Well, a large farm isn't going to graze a 100-acre crop failure that's 14 miles away. I know I'm biased, but I think we raise great kids because we truly have farm kids that are, you know, for a farm kid, you know it's been a good day when grandma stops them at the front door and says, you gotta clean up before you even come in the house, you know. Our kids are filthy and they're tired and they're well behaved and they know a few things. They know that they can get hurt, so that makes them more aware because they haven't been sheltered from everything. They know reality from make-believe, if you've been watching the news lately. I mean, because when something dies on the farm, it doesn't come back. And I guess it seems like I have ADHD the way I talk, but this is all a system. So it seems like I'm bouncing around, but it's all connected. It's all a system. You know, the family farm unit means more kids in the neighborhood. So that means more kids getting on the bus. So that means better, stronger schools because you got more individual little property taxpayers and more kids to go to the school. And you have smaller farmers that worry about every little acre. And you know, the attitude doesn't prevail, well, if that 10 acres washes, you know, whatever, I'm not picking up the plow for having a grass waterway. It doesn't work like that for a small farm. We just farm differently. Usually I know when they get out of the car if something bad happened at school that day by the way they're walking. And I let them get changed and they come to the bar and I'll say, what's wrong? And they tell Dad, so-and-so did this. And we talk about it a little bit, but by the time you're 3 jobs into chores and you've got to talk about it with your dad, and he either gave you sympathy or didn't give you sympathy, but you got it all worked out. And you know what else is great for hormones? These people, you want some teenager advice? Give them jobs. There's nothing like physical activity to work them hormones out. That's what they're telling adults now anyways. You should go exercising, you'll feel better. It's the same for kids. Same for all of us. There's nothing wrong with sweat and physical work and physical activity. It doesn't mean your kids are slaves, but an hour of chores after school with their parents, visiting with their parents, is a wonderful thing. I'm probably always going to keep a tractor because I only had one horse with any hydraulics and he only had one implement and it wasn't for round bales. So I got to have that tractor for that loader to pick stuff up on a farm. So many things are heavy. And as I get older, more things seem heavy. So I like that loader. When it's 93 degrees and humid out, I'm not harnessing them mares and going round baling. I jump in that tractor and I go round bale and I don't kill my horses. There's plenty of days up north here that it's 75 and low humidity and I can round bale and run the hay bine. And so it's a good emergency thing. Okay, we're gonna have 2 nice days and we got 40 acres of corn to plant and we need to get the corn planted because it's already June 1st. So the mares are mulching with Dad, Mama's in the John Deere, and we are covering ground. You know, that's a nice thing too. So there's lots of good reasons to have the tractor. The PTO power, obviously. We use it for snow blowing. I get some of we run a 153 acre farm, but we also rent 55 more additional acres. So we run about 210 acres. Well, some of the land I get rented because I blow their driveway all winter. So we put a snow blower on the John Deere and I take care of their driveway all winter. So it helps you get a little extra land. The power carts, though, are an ability to take the same implement that you could use with that tractor and go use it with the horses on a fraction of the fuel and a fraction of the parts to go around. I don't have, clutches. I don't have brakes. I don't have electronics. I don't have, but whatever. I have a motor with a PTO on some axles. And I can mow hay with a 12-foot hay vine with my little Yanmar cart for 3 quarts an hour. I can mow 3 acres an hour with 4 mares on it. Our big Cummins cart is 115 horsepower. I have an 8.5-foot tiller on it. I can rototill 5 inches deep. We can do 20 acres in 9 hours for 15 gallons of diesel. And that's a one-pass deal. I can go from corn stalks to ready to drill with a grain drill for new seeding. It's that smooth in one pass for 15 gallons of diesel.
We are putting a fence here so the chickens don't get out and harm anything out here. The chickens are going to be here eating the grass. Hopefully not the trees, but so then they can eat the grass. The winter home is behind the horse barn.
So what are you doing specifically? You're putting up this fence then? You're tying
We're putting
it off
this
with these
fence,
posts?
and then I have a zip tie, which is in my back pocket. I'm going to zip tie this to the wire, so then it gets electricity.
And why we are making this is so the chickens don't fly out and wander away and flying them and nip and fall and die.
And then I have something like this to stick into the ground, so then this stays down. If the chickens get out by going under, they will be loose, so then we have to go and get them back, which is what we do not want.
So that's why I put in the cold stakes, so and we can put them in the ground so the wire is not like just sitting on the ground with no stakes. We have these barrels here, so when Dad would drive by with the water wagon to water these cows out there, when he has extra water, he'd pour it in there for me. Since I usually do the chicken water with Michael. Okay, girl.
Okay, girls. Good girl. Come on, Anna. You got it. Okay, team. Come on, girls. Come on, girls. Woo. Okay, girls. Give me one more good pull. Whoa! Hey! Thanks for watching Rural Heritage on RFD TV. We'll be right back. Sometimes with 3 kids, milking is the only quiet part of the day. Sometimes I get sexually harassed at the workplace.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Yes, you do.
Wolf is my problem.
We strip, dip, wipe, apply, meaning put the milker on. That's been the recommended protocol for like 50 years. And you give the iodine time to work.
It's going to take, what, 40, 45 seconds?
Something like that. Every load of milk ever on every farm gets tested for antibiotics every time. We have some of the most stringent testing of any industry because you're dealing with a food product that could be in someone's belly in 2 or 3 days, Right. Doesn't matter anyways because we drink our own milk and we wouldn't drink it if we wouldn't trust it. So most of the standards are useless for us because we do at least that, if not more.
Butter. All the butter at the table.
Yeah.
You should make your own ice cream more.
Yeah, that's really good. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we raise about 3 pigs a year, and we butcher in the fall, usually around deer hunting time. If we're lucky enough to get a deer, we like making venison and pork wieners and kielbasa, and we butcher our pigs. We send the bacon and hams out to be smoked professionally, but we do all the butchering here, and we butcher our own cows. We butcher a cow a year, or a steer or whatever for us. So we have dairy. We raise a couple beef for family. We have our own hogs. We do our own chickens, and that's for meat and eggs. And we have Saskatoon berries, which is like a blueberry. We have the majority of our vegetables. We buy some things like pears or blueberries when they're in season. We buy a quantity and we're canning 50 quarts of pears that day. We're in northern Wisconsin. It's just hard to grow peaches, so... But we graze everything we can. It helps on the budget. And besides that, what if you have to someday? You can't just buy the seeds, store them away. There's a knowledge base that you have to have. And sometimes it might take 10 years to master doing something because it just fights you. Like tomatoes in our area. It's taken us a long time to raise tomatoes up here. And finally we've realized that horse manure in a greenhouse is the best way to get it done. The vigor scrubbing is also the stimulant. It makes them release oxytocin in their bloodstream, which is the letdown. If you get a cow riled up, they'll release, what do they release, endorphins? No. Something that can overpower oxytocin. Epinephrine? I believe it's epinephrine. Anyways, if they release that, they will not let down if you get a cow riled up at milking time. So it's important to keep them calm. Talk about being a vegan, don't talk about burgers or nothing. We got to watch their tits in the summertime. We got to watch them for getting chapped, either from mud or from sun. So sometimes we have to use lotion instead of iodine tit dip. And after we milk them, we also dip them again. Well, sometimes after we milk them, we have to use lotion instead of a second tit dipping.
I see.
To keep them. Like here's a little bitty crack started.
Right.
And that's either sun or mud or she nicked it with something. That's something we'd keep an eye on and probably give her medicated bag balm, something to soften it and keep it nice. Not that I'm looking for $1 million endorsement, but we might use this from Fleet Farm. Thank you, Fleet Farm. I'll take 42-42s are fine, or 42-32s are fine.
That's pretty corny.
Yeah. Our cows are pretty much tame of everything because they've been little boy proof. So you could just run through here screaming and they might not even swallow their cud,
Your boys know how to garden.
Yes. Yeah,
They seem to enjoy it.
they enjoy it most of the time. You know, when it's 85, they just want it done. We also have a pond on the farm, so we're not tyrant parents. When it's hot, we just, okay, guys, we're going to do this many rows. You don't ever say how long you're going to work, because you're never going to get optimum. You say, we're going to do this many rows, and then we're going to the pond. And you ought to see the weeds fly, and sometimes the dirt, and sometimes the rocks, and yeah, but they like it. You know, actually, all of them like it. We have the main garden for the family, and then they each have their own raised beds and their own section raised beds. And in that part, they can raise sunflowers. Or I think Aaron planted about 50 kohlrabies last year because he wanted kohlrabies, but it was his garden, so yeah. They seem to like it. They help with the butchering. The boys name the pigs. They help raise the pigs all summer. They love them. I think that one year, Josh was riding them one pigs. They were so big. And when I shoot the pigs in the fall, it's a single shot rifle. I hand the single shot rifle to a 14-year-old son, and he hands me the knife to slit their throat. And there's no tears or nothing. They know where this came from. There's no illusions. So even the 6-year-old is sitting there going, oh, they're going to be tasty. And some people are shocked at that. Well, they know where bacon comes from. The cows had any kind of infection anytime recently? We wash the unit, just to make sure we don't pass that on to somebody. To another cow.
How did you know that one did?
She's had an infection at one time or another,
right.
So we'll wash the units for a long time to make sure that she's not residually shedding anything.
How do you know that cow did though?
Oh, that's Moose. Oh yeah, that's Moose. Her name's Moose. She's old. She got off the ark with Noah.
Okay.
She's been here a while.
And then that's why we stripped them out of the beginning. They could see there's a little bit of mastitis chunks or flakes or something.
Anything.
Also, we do a DHI testing, so that tells us the somatic cell count of every cow once a month.
Yep. But yeah, I knew to do it with her because this is Moose. So yeah, we do know our cows. I mean, that's
This
405, 460, 456, 455. Stepping down there, I believe, is 459, and that's 459 last. And this is 458.
And this cow is tested for heifer calves. We feed her milk to the heifer calves.
We've tested her for Yonis several times. It's a disease that sheds in the milk, and she doesn't have it. We don't want to pass it on to a heifer calf. So
And we don't have a problem with it in the herd that we know of.
No,
But
it's a precaution. We test 3 or 4 cows. Them are the cows we'll feed a heifer calf with.
Okay.
It's a precaution thing.
heifer calves are too valuable to.
We always showed a loss on the big farm. It didn't mean you couldn't, pay your bills, but, and I'm not a tax assessor, but they could make it where you show a loss or whatever. We hardly ever even broke even. And we've been here 7 years, and we've showed a profit 5 out of 7 years. And there were some years here there was $9 milk. It was hard, but we've showed a profit. We paid taxes, had a profit 5 out of 7 years.
Is it difficult to operate against the model that most of the banks and insurance companies and other people are used to seeing people do?
If you were starting, it would be. We weren't green at it. We came with a little bit of equity and money. So we're like, here, we got 60%, leave us alone. So that makes a difference. If you're a young person starting, it would be difficult. It would be difficult.
Because you're doing things different.
It's going to make a banker nervous, but there are bankers out there now, I've been told, that specialize, in financing organic farms and stuff. You'd have to you might have to look a little harder to find the right banker. A conventional banker, and bankers I'm sure vary as much as any other group of people. A conventional banker might be a little different, a little nervous. When you plan on being happy with rusty vehicles, you might have a Sunday vehicle and what you use for a farm vehicle is rusty and trusty, hopefully. And there might not be a lot of cash for a lot of years. You're going to have to find different kinds of happiness because you might be really happy but really cash poor for a long time. My wife and I feel that a faith helps. We're Christians and we feel our faith helps because we are not strong enough as humans to do this sometimes. So sometimes you just got to say, God, what else are you going to throw at me today? I get it. I'm humble. I'm beat down today. What else? It really, something else is going to break? So we think it helps to have a faith. Everybody to their own on that. And you better be patient. My wife's so patient and so stubborn and so strong. And I think out of the box. So
this program is available for purchase. To order your copy, please call 319-362-3027 or visit www.ruralheritage.com. Rural Heritage is a bi-monthly magazine dedicated to draft animal farming and logging, as well as other aspects of our rich rural heritage. It is published by Mishka Press, which also offers a complete line of Back to the Land books, DVDs, and calendars. Call or write for a catalog or subscription information, or visit our website at www.ruralheritage.com.